Part 5 of our build. In this video we're going to be installing the guide and starting to assemble the chassis. Okay, so we're going to be installing the wooden pickup guide from Slot.it, part number CH07. You will need some braid for that guide. I recommend the copper braid part number SP19. They come in 1 meter long pieces. All you need to do is cut two 1-inch pieces. Okay. Alright, so why are we going to install the wooden pickup guide? Well, our track accepts the wooden pickup guide, which is both longer, the blade is longer and deeper than the factory guide. This will help you stay on the turns. Okay. Now, one thing that I need to show is all the wooden pickup guides come with this little extra piece of plastic right here where they broke the guide out of the mold. So you need to scrape that out. It's right on the face of the guide. You want to clean this up with your X-Acto knife or sand it out some way. Okay, here's a clean one. Alright, so first thing you need to do is to fold about 1/8 of an inch over, creating a ledge on your braid. You're gonna do that with both pieces. Okay, this way when you're installing the braid it doesn't fall through. Okay, one thing that I want to show you guys. Normally the braid or that little ledge we created is installed to the rear of the guide. One thing that I learned, if you install the other way around, placing the eyelet instead of in front of the braid, in the back of the braid, the eyelet seems to stay there tighter, thus not coming out when you either crash or make too sharp of a turn. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm installing the braid with the little ledge facing forward. Okay, there you go. All you do in the back of it, just fold it. There's only one way you can do this. All right. Let me get my guide here on my set of block. Let me get the washer and the screw. Okay. You can tighten this all the way down and then check for movement. If it gets stuck in one of the sides, just back it off a little more. There you go. Alright, so that's that for your guide for now. I'm just pushing it down so it doesn't spring up too much. Okay, so next thing you want to look before installing your motor pod is to check both motor pod and the motor pod bed on the chassis for flashing. Okay, so again I use a X-Acto knife and I just make sure that all the corners are free of flashing mold or mold flashing. Clean all this stuff up. Normally right here is a pretty bad spot. Want to verify the back end here of the motor pod. This one looks good for now. Same thing you want to do again on the chassis. You just go along the motor pod bed lines. Make sure they're free of any flashing. Okay. Another thing I'd like to show you guys is that the motor pod comes with this little arch right here, which I'm guessing is designed to protect the gear. And the chassis has an area equivalent to accommodate that little arch. Most of the times on the chassis, that little area is going to get it's a really tight fit, so you want to take some material out of the chassis to allow the motor pod to float. Okay, We're going to talk about why we want to float this motor pod soon. But you want to clean that up a little bit, this area right here on the chassis, and this is it. So let's get the screws in here. Well, one other thing before we do that. Okay, so let me back off of my zoom again. Alright, so imagine those red circles I'm doing right here as the motor pod screw holes on the chassis. Okay? Alright, so I'm gonna get another color pen here, if I can find one. Right here. Imagine that these blue circles those blue circles are the motor pod screw holes. As you can see from my drawing, they don't align with the chassis holes. So this happens quite a bit. And the reason I'm showing you this is because if you do install your motor pod tight, basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be flexing that chassis. Okay? We went for a lot of trouble to get this chassis straight, so basically I do not recommend running the motor pod tight. Alright, let's get back here. I got my 4 screws right there. Initially, you were going to screw all the motor pod screws snug. Okay, so this is what I'm doing right now. This is one. I'm going to the second here. Third. And my 4th screw. So now what I want to do is back those screws off about either a quarter or half a turn. I'm going a half a turn on the rear. I'm going to go half a turn on the front as well for each one of the screws. And now you're going to check how is the movement on that motor pod. Okay, this one here, it's kind of hard to show, but it moves about 1 millimeter in each direction, or maybe half a millimeter. This is plenty not to flex the chassis, and I cannot hear it getting stuck on any of the corners of the motor, the chassis here. So this is good for me. If you install and then you see, okay, I'm backing off half a turn or 3/4 of a turn, I'm still not getting any movement, more than likely there's something in the chassis rubbing against the motor pod, so you need to check that out and clear it up. Most of the time is this, like I said before, this little area right here made for the motor pod arch, so you want to check that one. Alright, so we got this done. Let me flip the car over and let's get started on our lead wires, I'm sorry. So the McLaren has a very low nose, okay? And sometimes after you install your lead wire onto the guide, what happens is the insulation on the wire will rub on the interior of the body. When that happens, you're not going to be recentering your guide, and you might also lift the body. When that happens, when you're making a turn, you can see the body's lifting a little bit. So to prevent that, what you do is you take your eyelet out and you strip another 1/8 of an inch as well of insulation from the tip of that wire. Now when you're installing the braid back, you're going to install like it was in the factory. You just slide the braid in such a way that you have about the same length as, you install the eyelet and you slide the eyelet in so that you have about the same length of wire, the same length as your eyelet for wire is sticking out, and fold it over. We're going to do this on both sides. And the reason why we do this is because the bare wire will slide a lot easier in the inside of your body than the insulation, which is made out of silicone and is somewhat grippy. Okay? This should help. Alright. Well, camera battery died. Do over. Okay, so all the Slot.it chassis have a retaining channel for your lead wire. This one here has got those little nipples, which also create a little channel right there. From then on, you go into a little tunnel, kind of an opening here, that you can, this little tunnel actually helps prevent any interference with the lead wire with the front axle. So just slide your wire through the little tunnel here. There you go. Okay, so now the next thing is to install your eyelet. I use tweezers for this. Just there you go. You can use a needle nose pliers or your hands. This is a little more precise here than my hand, so it helps. Okay, that's one. And let's get the second one in. That's my AC going, by the way. Okay. So one thing you need to note is that sometimes the braids touch each other, and you don't want that. It's going to be a short, so make sure they don't. Right there. And my eyelets are pretty tight in place. Next step. Move your guide to one of the sides all the way. I'm sorry, right there. I probably should back this up a little. There you go. Move it all the way and make sure you have enough wire to allow the guide to move all the way, and then start placing your wire on the retaining channel right here. Okay, same thing on the other side. Make sure you have enough wire to allow the guide to move to the other side, and start pressing your lead wire onto the channel. Okay, this one here doesn't want to go in that little guy. There you go. Alright, so now you check for guide movement. What you want to do is, see, I'm flipping my guide to the left, and it's recentering. This is good. Now if I do it to the right, it's not really recentering, so let me back off a little bit more here on the screw. See if that helps. There you go. It's not a perfect recentering, but it's really close. It looks good to me. Okay. Alright, so let's see what else. Before you put your car on the track, you want to fluff that little braid a little bit. Okay, I have a micro wire brush here. I guess you could do with a little toothbrush or something like that. What you're doing is just working against the grain of the braid to widen it. Okay, you guys see the difference? There you go. Let me get the other one done. And this is it. Installing the guide and starting to assemble your chassis.